Hello everyone, I wanted to buy this car for the new year, but it so happened that I came to him only now, having bought another car then. For the new year 2022, I was going to change cars. Of what I wanted to take, Kia Sorento new came first. But his price was biting. Well, Santa Fe was possible, but again, the price. Yes, and his appearance can be said to be outdated, but not quite in front. And I didn't really want anything else, except for China, which was very tempting. Chery Tiggo 8 Pro in first place, Howell F7 and F7X, and Chery Tiggo. This is so that there is plenty to choose from. That's what I was considering. My fear of China was too strong, and therefore my choice did not fall exactly on what I wanted. Or rather, not at all. I just took it from what was on the second-hand market. And I came across a fairly fresh Skoda Kodiaq with a small mileage. And when I saw that owning this car wasn't giving me the desired feelings, I started browsing ads on Avito again and watching YouTube videos, reading owner reviews, and catching any information about the Chinese. And since the torments of choice presented themselves to me quite recently, only half a year ago, I already knew almost 100% where to go and what to watch. They were all the same Chinese. It would be possible to see the Koreans, if not for the prices, which have become even higher. I didn't consider Bushki at all, as before, because it's a bitter experience. Yes, you can't be more precise. Chery Tiggo 8 Pro. Why not 7 Pro? The 7 is more youthful, and the 8 is solid, 7 seats, more spacious. Well, outwardly more beautiful Haval F7. Or F7X Chery Tiggo. The Atlas disappears here, because the view is not very good as for me, although the car is good. Of all this, I definitely liked Chery. That's where I went to take a long-planned test drive. And I went through it on as many as 3 cars to fully understand what kind of beast it is. There were no more unseen reviews on YouTube, and there was nowhere to get new information. And the available information did not contain anything critical. People just rode in wheelbarrows and were happy. Well, small shoals surface singly here and there. But this is also found on famous brands. After visiting Chery Salon, according to the script, I was supposed to visit the salons of other Chinese manufacturers, Howell and Chery. But I never did. The Tiggo dropped off at a much higher price tag. And Howell. Reviews were full of information about the increased consumption of 7s, not a very good connection between the engine and the gearbox, plus the blunts of the gearbox when switching back and forth. And the first and most important thing for me is not a very attractive appearance in front and back. Daytime running lights are dull. The taillights are unfinished. The salon is too modest. Well, this is again for my taste. Cars are generally great, if in general. That's how my choice definitely fell on 8 Pro. And he fell not now, but probably a year ago. I just needed time to make up my mind. By the way, I forgot to mention that it was on the day when I went to Chery Salon for a test drive that the truck with my future car arrived on that day, and I personally saw it, and a couple of days later, I picked it up. He didn't even have time to go there, to the salon. So, now about ownership, the car has been in my possession for the 2nd month. The complete set is the most complete. Of course, it's too early to draw any conclusions. I'm just sharing my impressions, and I'll supplement the review so that future owners can rely on some information, as I did at the time. In a nutshell, I like the car. No, it's not like that. I'm just getting high. The car was given to me with the extras already installed: anti-noise and anti-core, engine and tank protection slats, mudguards, interior and trunk mats. That seems to be it. After the purchase, I tinted the rear hemisphere with a visor a couple of days later. Then I ordered ozone deflectors on the door and then installed them myself. However, I did not know that it was so easy to do this. Before that, I thought it was difficult and was afraid. I also ordered a film on Avito for the gloss of the center console and the screens of the control room and the climate, but I haven't glued it yet. I'll do it one of these days. I don't know yet whether to change the mats to 3D or not. And the armor of the front part, I also don't know if it's necessary or not. While running in, I try not to strain the car. I drive carefully, but I feel the power. At first, the consumption felt very high. It was too few kilometers from the first gas station to the second one. From the second to the third, a little more has already passed, then even more. It feels like the consumption has dropped a little. Although it's still running in, there are about 12 liters of BC. But this is a completely urban expense. I am glad that you can pour 92. That's what I'm doing so far. The box switches are automatic and invisible. The car starts moving, well, very impressively, softly, smoothly, and pleasantly. I remember the Kodiak, it was impossible to move carefully there. The car literally jerked when the brakes were released. It has always been a problem to drive carefully to the wall in the parking lot. The engine sound is pleasantly deep. The noise is quite good. I'm satisfied. I won't do anything extra. The suspension seemed too rigid at first. For example, on speed bumps. But when going through bumps, the car is surprisingly soft. That's how it's possible. It's nice though blind spot monitoring system. Well, it helps, of course. I am even more pleased with the help when getting out of the car, when the system beeps if a car is passing and the light in the rear doors flashes, warning of danger. And yet, when entering the road backwards, the system warns if someone is driving on the road. This function is a thing for me. The car is about 30 meters away, and it's already beeping and showing in the mirror and on the screen. Convenient. Atlas Batman is coming from the factory. The tread looks like a Yokohama. It's pretty quiet to drive. Accelerated to 140. I can't say anything bad. Moreover, it was also quiet in the cabin at this speed. By the way, the same rubber was on the test car, and the manager behind the wheel entered a long turn at such a furious speed that I was already mentally ready to turn the car over, but for some reason this did not happen. The conclusion is that it is quite a normal rubber. By the way, I noticed that at a speed of 130, there is a slight vibration on the steering wheel. I haven't figured out what this is about yet. Maybe with wheel balancing. I'll check it when replacing the winter tires. Fortunately, it is very rare to accelerate up to 130 in the city, and on the highway 120 is quite fine. The seats. I can't say about the back because I don't sit there, but about the driver's license. The seat is a little short, yes, as many have written and said, but it doesn't interfere at all. I don't think there's any lateral support. These bulges on the sides look more like soft pillows that do not act as support. And by the way, they make the seat quite narrow. That's even for me, who only weighs 70 kilograms. Well, again, it seems to me that the seats are quite comfortable, no matter what, and you won't get tired on a long trip. Electrical adjustments allow you to arrange yourself as you wish. And the front passenger as well. I am glad to have different assistants and options. In short, there is absolutely everything, and I am only happy about it. Yes, you don't use many things, but the availability of these options is encouraging. For example, I don't like using an auto store. I used it for about a month at the previous Kodiak school, then turned it off. Next, I don't use the start-stop system. I turned it off on the very first day and forgot. By the way, in the early releases, this feature had to be disabled every time you went. It's been fixed now. Thanks to the Chinese for listening to the owner's opinions, a comfortable landing system is a thing. I used it for almost a month, then turned it off again. If necessary, I'll turn it on again. It's nice to have it. The hatch is a thing. The children are happy. Of course, it gets in the way in the heat. If you don't open the curtain, it roasts from above. But in winter, I think it will please you with extra light and sunshine in the cabin. On the very first day, I noticed that the car itself was flashing the emergency light here and there. It was unclear for what reason and by what logic. Sometimes on recumbents, sometimes on a flat road. I asked the manager, and it turned out that this is how the anti-rear-end collision system works. When approaching from behind the car too close, I turned off this feature, although it's a good thing and really attracts the attention of those driving behind. Again, you can turn it on at any time, for example, in fog or at night. The front collision system warns and sometimes slams on the brakes when dangerously approaching a stopped object from the front. I did not disable this feature. I think it can help, although I haven't fully understood the logic of the work yet. It doesn't always work the same way in the same situations. Like it's a fairy tale, it can be seen at night as in the daytime. You can see better even during the day. Such a paradox. The front and rear optics are very beautiful, both off and on. Climate. It's summer now. The heat is up to 36. The climate is coping. It stands at plus 23 cars. It works fine. At first, it seemed to me that the air was not blowing cold enough from the nozzles. The diagnostics showed that everything was working as it should, and I calmed down. Generally speaking, the car is just a fire inside and out. Satisfied with everything. I've already driven 1,200 miles. I didn't find any joints. Once, some mistake popped up on the road. It appeared on the dashboard. Pressed the brake. But the car was behaving as usual, just driving with this error. Well, I got home. I stood for a couple of hours, then there was no mistake, and there were no traces left. The second time, the whole family went for a ride around the city. The children jumped to the third row and squeaked happily from there. The load was full to 7 people. I handed my purse to my wife in the second row. And I have a key in my purse. Well, at some point, the car starts to squeak alarmingly often. And the squeaking doesn't go away. It's been beeping like this for about 15 minutes, but we have to go. Well, I'm driving, and at the same time I'm looking at the devices. And everything is as usual there. There are no errors. There are no additional red lights either. Everything is normal. I stopped, turned off the engine, walked around. I think maybe the trunk is not closed. When I started up, it beeps again. So we got to the place. Then, when we were driving back, it didn't happen anymore. I suspect that either the key was too far away, or someone propped up the bag by pressing one of the buttons on the key, and that's where the squeak came from. I don't know. There was nothing else during all this time. Soon it's 0. I'll unsubscribe there. Good luck, peace and kindness to all.